Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is October 17th, 2025. And Hansi Flick exploding during the pre-match press conference over the Lamine Yamal lies. We're going to talk about what the lies are and what Hansi Flick's response to it, because he called it BS. Also, the Camp Nou has received the green light, so great news there. And finally, La Liga players planning protests for this weekend. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the channel. My name is Bo. This is the Barca News live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where not only we discuss Barcelona news, but where I also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering your questions, and getting that discussion going. For those of you who will be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description, chapters in the timeline, in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. All of this helps the channel grow. It helps or prompts the YouTube algorithm to recommend the channel to people who've never seen it. So please hit that. It takes a split second. It's free. It helps me grow. It makes me feel good. And if you're looking to buy any Barcelona jerseys, merchandise, not just from Barca, any football team, any sports team around the world, make sure to hit the Kitback Fanatics or Goal Kits. If you're looking to place any sports bets on any sporting event around the world, make sure to hit the Bet Us. All links are down below in the description. You click on them, you get access to some pretty cool deals and offers. All right, now, I know if you're wondering why I'm wearing these headphones, I know there's been a lot of complaints about the sound. And trust me, I've noticed it too, with static, with like a sound of a chopper. I've been working really hard at fixing it. I bought this really cool piece that supposedly removes static from, it was like 40 or 50 bucks. I plugged it in. It didn't do anything. I just ordered new cables for the mic, USB cable and XLR cable. It gets here on the weekend. Hopefully that works. I'm not sure. I'm running out of ideas. But if nothing works, I might just take my audio box to the shop and be like, yo, what the hell's going on? So trust me, I'm working hard on fixing it. Hopefully it gets fixed pretty soon. You know, this is all new to me. I'm not an audio engineer. I'm not too good at this stuff, but I will fix it. I've been spending hours reading articles and watching YouTube videos, so hopefully I'll find a solution soon. And hopefully today, the YouTube servers are up. I know a lot of people are having a hard time accessing the servers on Wednesday. Hopefully it's all up because we have a lot of news. A lot of news to discuss today. And let's start with the news because, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, tomorrow is the match between Barcelona and Girona. It's the 9th fixture of this La Liga season, this 2025-2026 season. And of course, as you know, the CTA and the Royal Spanish Football Federation announced at the beginning of the season that they're only going to announce referees the day before. Before, it used to be 3 days before. That was giving Real Madrid TV plenty of time to make their videos attacking referees. So now that it's the day before the match, the CTA has announced who the referee will be for tomorrow. And well, it's no other than Gil Manzano. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Gil Manzano will be the referee for tomorrow. So hold on to your seats, buckle up, wear your seatbelts, hide your belongings, because we will have a world-class, certified, incompetent moron in charge of tomorrow's match. So Barcelona are going to have to be on top of their game, not just to win, but to avoid being penalized by the errors of this certified idiot. Anyway, speaking of tomorrow's match, today was the last practice session ahead of Girona's match. And one player was not present, and it was Ferran Torres. As you know, Ferran Torres was with the Spanish national team during the FIFA international break. He played the first match and then was released because he was feeling discomfort in his hamstring. He came back to Barcelona, underwent medical exams. Barcelona released a statement saying that he had an overload on his hamstring. It was not an injury. So he had been training, partly with the group, partly in the gym, because they didn't want to aggravate it and turn it into an injury. And today he was missing from practice. which of course started to sound the alarm that Ferran Torres most likely will not be available for tomorrow. And lo and behold, later during the day, Barcelona released the following statement saying first team player Ferran Torres will miss tomorrow's match against Girona as a precaution due to discomfort stemming from the hamstring overload in his left leg sustained during the international break. So it's confirmed, ladies and gentlemen, Ferran Torres will not be available for tomorrow's match. Again, he's not injured. He has an overload on his hamstring, and of course, they don't want to risk it. Therefore, he will not be available. Now, this, of course, does present a big problem for Hansi Flick because this is yet another attacker who will not be available. Because as we know, Lewandowski got injured during the FIFA international break. He's going to be out for a month. Rafinha was injured. He was supposed to come back tomorrow, but he's not recovering fast enough, so he's not going to be available tomorrow. Lamine Yamal and Fermin Lopez are both back, but since they just came back from injury, they're not going to be playing the full 90 minutes. Dani Olmo got injured during the FIFA international break, so that presents a lot of problems for Hansi Flick because the attack, well, it's pretty thin right now. Now, we are going to talk about the options, but first I want to go back to this picture. I selected this picture on purpose because look at Gerard Bardin. What the fuck is he doing? He's like, wait. Anyways, let's get back to the news because we do have to talk about the options that Hansi Flick has, including 3 academy youngsters that were training with the first team today. Of course, we do know Dro. Dro has been with the first team since the summer. He's the guy on the left. The guy in the middle, Tony Fernandez, was being hacked by Marc Bernal. Tony Fernandez has been training with the team as well. He's also been going back down to Barca Athletic, but training a lot with the first team. And then on the right, we see Juan Hernandez. Yes, I know, it's confusing. Tony Fernandez, Juan Hernandez, a lot of Fernandez. I think Dro's last name is also Fernandez, if I'm not mistaken. But Juan Hernandez, 18-year-old attacking midfielder. He can also play as a left winger. So there is a chance that he could be used tomorrow. Again, he was training with the first team today. But it's less likely since he hasn't really played with the first team that much or even trained with the first team that much. There's a much bigger chance that Dro and Tony could have minutes tomorrow. Now, taking all this into consideration, that Lamine is back, but he most likely will not play the full 90 minutes. That Fermin is back and most likely will not play 90 minutes. That Dani Olmo's injured. That Ferran is not available. That Rafinha is not available. That Lewandowski is injured. Question is, who will Hansi Flick start tomorrow in the attack? And of course, as always, I do have here my lineup builder, which I do like to, try to predict, see what Hansi Flick can use. And of course, I'm open to you guys' suggestions. So start letting me know in the chat section or in the comment section if you're watching this when it ends. Who do you think Hansi Flick will start in tomorrow's match? Now, let's change this to Hansi Flick's 4-3-2-1 formation. Wait, no. It's a 4-2-3-1. What am I doing? There we go. 4-2-3-1 formation. In goal, of course, we're going to have Szczesny. Duh. We do have Juan Garcia injured. And the right, no doubt, is going to be Koundé. Of course. Duh. On the left, Alejandro Valde. No doubt. Duh. And of course, the question is always, who will be the center back pairing, right? I don't think Hansi Flick has picked, or maybe he has, but we haven't seen it yet because we've seen so many different pairings in a center back. But I think it's going to be Cubarsí and Eric Garcia. I really think that this is who will be the chosen two for Hansi Flick from now on because he's tried it all, right? He's tried Eric and Christensen, Cubarsí and Araujo and Christensen. I think Eric and Araujo have played together, and these two seem to be the two best that can work together. After all, they're very familiar with each other. They played in the Olympics together. They won Olympic gold together. The two of them have really good build-up from the back. The two of them can drive the ball forward, have great passes that break lines. So I think this will be Flick's pairing for the foreseeable future. Of course, all this can change once Barcelona make more center-back signings. Now, in here, of course, no doubt about it, Hansi Flick his 2 starting pivots are Frankie and Pedri. I think that's a pretty easy one. And then, of course, this is the tough task. Because, again, out of all the starters, we only have Rashford, right? Rafinha, Lewy, Ferran, all injured. Lamine, not ready to play full 90 minutes. Now, the attacking midfield, this is a big problem. Because yes, Fermin is back, but I don't think Flick will be willing to risk him, play the whole 90 minutes. And of course, the other option, Dani Olmo is injured because, that's what he does. He's always injured. So, of course, the question is, who will it be? Now, there's a couple of options here. We can either have the option of Fermin starting and then being subbed out at the 60th minute for Dro, or we can have the opposite. Dro starting with Fermin Lopez coming in later. Now, this is a tough one. Now, there's a very good chance that Fermin could start because Fermin recovered at the beginning of the FIFA international break. So he's been recovered for quite some time. So he could technically start as opposed to Lamine, who just recovered. And it's very unlikely that he would start. But nonetheless, I'm going to go with Dro. Will Dro pull up? He will pull up by his nickname. All right. With Fermin Lopez coming in later. But again, there's a good chance it could be the opposite. Fermin starting. I think he could start. And Dro coming in later. On the right, Lamine Yamal is ready again. But since he's just recovered, I doubt he will start. I think he will be coming on during the second half. So here, I think where we can get creative, or Flick can get creative, and maybe bring in Tony Fernandez. Is Tony going to pull up? I don't think he's going to pull up because he's still not. Oh, well, his name is Antonio. Maybe that's why. Let me see. Antonio Fernandez. There he is. I think Tony Fernandez could start. And, of course, Lamine Yamal coming off the bench. On the left, I think we could have Rooney play on the left because he can play on both wings. So he can play on the left. And then when Tony comes out, Lamine, of course, comes in. And Rooney can technically play there the whole match. Maybe if Dro does it great, Fermin can come in later for Rooney. Or Fermin could come in for Dro. And finally, up here, no Lewy, no Ferran. I think it could be Rashford. This is my prediction for tomorrow. Szczesny, Koundé, Kouarsi, Eric, Balde, De Jong, Pedri, Tony Fernandez, Dro, Rooney Bardghji, and Marcus Rashford. I want to hear you guys' thoughts. I want to hear you guys' prediction. Let me know in the chat section or in the comment section if you're watching this once it has ended. And with that, let's do the comment section, and then we will talk about the next bit of news because, ladies and gentlemen, Hansi Flick today lost it during a press conference. He pulled the Mo. And what do I mean by he pulled the Mo? He started cursing. He lost his shit. And I do that a lot here. So this is why I'm calling it pulling a Mo. And we do have a donation from Master Sparky. Thank you so much, my friend, for your generosity. Master Sparky or Shin or the other 20 other names that he had says, I say start the youngster at left wing and time to give Rashford a serious test at striker. Screw it. Yeah. I mean, we technically, Bardghji obviously can play on the right too, so he could technically play on the right with Tony on the left. But Tony mostly plays on the right where Rooney can play on both. So this is why I think Tony will be on the right with Rooney on the left. But again, this is just a prediction as we've seen with Flick. You never know. We might see Szczesny on the right and Diego Cochen as our center forward and Rashford as our goalie. You never know with Flick, right? So, but this is what my prediction are. And of course, I'm curious to hear you guys' predictions. But thank you, my friend, for your very generous donation as always. And Barca Mama says, ready for some Mo. Well, thank you, Barca Mama. Thank you for always supporting the channel and always being here in the podcasts. And Marie says, live stream, green light, Spotify, Camp. No, yes, let's go. Today's a good day. Lots of good news today. Lots of good news. Well, right now, not so much with Ferran not being available, but Ferran sucks anyway. But he's better off the bench anyway. But yes, lots of good news today. Faye says, hey, Mo, question though. How long think Flick stay at the club? Well, he said it himself that he doesn't want to stay for too long. Because, he's, how old is he? 62, 61? He's in his 60s. Maybe he's just 60. Let me see. How old is Hansi Flick? Hansi Flick is 60 years old. Okay, so Flick is 60 years old, and he said it in previous interviews that because they ask him, would you want to be kind of like the Sir Alex Ferguson of Barca, someone that's here for many, many years? And he said no, because, he's 60. He wants to retire. He wants to spend time with his grandkids, with his loved ones. So I don't know how long. I don't see another 5 years, for example, but I can't say if he would be like another season, another two after this one. I think it's just going to depend on how the team goes. Like if the team, he's a coach that likes to go year by year, and if he sees that things are not working, he's the kind of coach that he's like, all right, bye, I'm going to leave because you guys need someone else, and I don't want to mess things up. If I had to put a number on it, it's also going to depend on what happens with Laporta, by the way. Because if Laporta, let's say, doesn't get reelected, which I think he will, but let's say he doesn't get reelected next year, that could change things, right? Because usually new presidents like to bring their own coaches, like sign their own coach and be, and say, hey, I brought this guy who brought us victories. I'm the best president ever, right? Coaches like to do that. Presidents like to do that. So I think it could be tied with what happens with Laporta in the elections, but my feeling is Laporta will get reelected, so it doesn't matter. So I don't know. I see Flick maybe staying another 2-3 seasons. Because again, he said it himself. He doesn't want to stay for too long because he wants to retire and spend time with his family. And he says, good news for us. It has been ages hearing good news from Barca. I know, I always feel like I'm the bearer of bad news, but today I'm the bearer of good news. So that's good, of course. The R9 Gaming says, haven't been on all week, but I'm glad I get to chime in today. Hope you're well. Well, thank you, my friend, and I'm glad that you are with us today. So yes, please chime in. Let me know your thoughts. Faye says, finally, some good news about Camp Nou. Also, the World Cup in America. Will you go and watch it live in the stadium? I'm more inclined to go to Canada or to Mexico for two reasons. A, I know for a fact that prices here in the U.S. are going to be through the roof because it's the U.S., unfortunately. We're a very greedy country. We want to, hike up everything. We want to charge 1,000% profit on everything. And if you've been to any sporting event here in the U.S., La Liga game against Villarreal, I've already seen the tickets, and I think $500 in like top tier, like very far. And if you want the closed seats, $2,000, crazy shit like that, right? Where for $200, you can be pretty close to the pitch at the Camp Nou. And here, you have to spend $2,000 to be that close. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Markups are insane here. And second, because, I live here, so I think it'd be more exciting to go somewhere else to watch the games. I always like to visit other countries. I like to travel. So I think, and I've never experienced a football game in Mexico. I think Mexico would be cool to go watch a football game. It's a footballing country. And yes, I know they're also known for other sports like boxing and baseball. Yes, I know. So Mexico is not just football. But of course, it's a much bigger footballing country than the U.S. is, right? Here, football, unfortunately, it's not really a main sport. It's getting more and more popular, but it's not really a big footballing country, right? We care more about baseball and American football and basketball and even hockey. Have you guys ever watched hockey? That shit sucks. I'm sorry, but it's as exciting as watching golf. Sure, yeah, the fights are cool, but they don't always fight. And I'd much rather watch the YouTube videos of the fights than watch an entire hockey game just to wait for a fight. Anyways, maybe it's just me. But anyways. James, he says, probably the cell phone near the broadcast turn off cellular. It's not my cell phone. It's actually far away. But I could try to turn it off, but I don't think it's going to make much of a difference, unfortunately. I've been trying everything. Trust me, I've been spending hours and hours and hours Googling and reading articles and watching YouTube videos. And like I said, I bought this like little piece that you connect the microphone cable to, and then you connect in the other end into the computer. Supposedly, like it acts kind of like a, it breaks the static, catches the static. Nothing. I've bought new cables. They're not here yet. We'll see if the cables work. I don't know. I honestly don't know what's going on with the sound. I'm thinking it's the computer, honestly, because when I used to use my laptop, it was fine. And then I bought this Mac Mini, which I don't know why I keep doing this to myself. I keep buying Apple products. And I'm sorry, Apple, don't sue me, but your products are shit. Are overpriced shit. I don't know why I keep buying them, but I do. But Apple products are overpriced shit. They are Ferraris with Honda Civic engines. They look pretty, they have good user interfaces, but very outdated technology, slows down super fast, breaks down super fast. Apple products are shit. And I don't know why I bought this Mac Mini. I highly, highly regret it. Not to mention, it has like 3 ports on it. I've had to buy like an extender to get more ports. Like, who just puts 3 ports, USB ports, on a computer? Like, and they charge so much for their shit. It's like, Apple, get your shit together. But the crazy thing is people will still buy it, right? It's like Starbucks coffee. I'm just going off today. I'm just like popping shots at everybody. It's like Starbucks, right? Shitty coffee, overpriced, but people still buy it. Because unfortunately, that's how marketing works, right? Good marketing will convince you to buy literally horse shit and pay money for it. And that's what Apple products are. That's what Starbucks is. Luxury brands of clothing. Anyways, I'm getting distracted. I'm popping shots for no fucking reason. Tomorrow I'm gonna be having like 20 letters in my mailbox of cease and desist. Mo, stop talking shit. Anyways, let's get back to the news before I get into more trouble. But let's get back into the news because we do have to talk about Hansi Flick. Because of course, as always, he participated in a pre-match press conference. And during the pre-match press conference, well, he popped off. He pretty much pulled a Mo and even cursed. Now, let's start with his more calm statements because this is what Hansi Flick had to say about the injuries. Because, of course, lots of injuries, right? Rafinha, Lewy, Ferran, Olmo, Lamine and Fermin, who are not going to be 100% ready, but Joan Garcia, Gabi, you get it. But this is what Hansi Flick said about the injuries. It's something I can't change. We have to find solutions. We have to find players who can start, who can play 90 minutes. Lamine and Fermin are back, but we have to manage them. I know that at our best, we can beat anyone. The most important thing for me is to fight from the start and play our best football. Of course, we've been missing players. It's not always easy. We have to manage the situation. Maybe tomorrow La Masia will have a chance. We will see what happens. So, of course, these statements, Flick's just being Flick, saying, look, it sucks. Yes, I'd rather not have injuries, but we have to deal with it, period, right? Unlike a group of people who shall remain nameless, who are like, oh, the injuries, this is why we're not playing good, oh, the injuries, this is why a certain coach failed, oh, the injury. Flick is like, no, this is not an excuse. This is something that all teams deal with. So that can never be an excuse. Because all teams have injuries, including the ones who end up winning the season, the champions, etc., etc., etc. All teams have injuries. PSG beat us, completely outplayed us, with their entire attacking front missing. Doué, Dembélé, Kvaratskhelia, their entire attacking line missing. So Flick's saying it's not an excuse, it sucks, but we have to deal with it and pay attention to that line. Maybe tomorrow La Masia will have a chance, right? So it's just kind of like confirming maybe that lineup that I just predicted. Or maybe we could see people like Dro, like Tony Fernandez get some minutes. Hopefully. I'm very excited to see, especially Tony, because Tony has yet to play, this season in an official match. So I'm very excited to see what he could offer. Now, in regards to Lewandowski, Flick was asked about it because, as you know, Lewandowski apparently insisted playing with Poland. They put bandage on his leg. He kept playing. Eventually, he got injured. So there were, of course, reports saying that people at Barca were upset with him for not asking for a substitution and rather just putting a bandage on his leg and playing. And this is what Flick had to say. I would have to think about it, but I don't think there's any player who takes such good care of his body as Robert. I spoke to him, and he told me he didn't think it was an injury. He is always very responsible with his health and his body. No one, except perhaps Cristiano, takes such good care of themselves as he does. Now, in regards to Coutinho and whether he will be back for a Clásico, Hansi Flick said, we hope he will be available. That's our plan, for him to be back for El Clásico. Sometimes there are problems, but he's on the right track. So this is, of course, good news because if Flick says Rafinha's on track to be back for a Clásico, well, it means that he is on track to be back for El Clásico. Now, of course, things could happen. Rafinha was on track to be back for tomorrow's match. He's not. But for now, the goal is El Clásico. He's on the right track, so hopefully he stays on the right track because we will need Coutinho against Real Madrid. Now, Now we move on to the T. Because Hansi Flick exploded and pulled a Mo. He went off. He started popping shots. He even cursed at a story that started circulating yesterday. Which, by the way, I didn't report about it because as soon as I read it, I'm like, this smells as bad as when you invite your friends to your house and you have nachos with like lots of cheese and beans, and then one of your friends goes and destroys your bathroom and you walk into your bathroom right after him. Well, that story smelled like that to me. And I was like, this is clearly pure BS. Now, what was the story that was circulating yesterday? And it was circulating on prime time in Spanish television, and they had all these, experts and pundits analyzing every detail of it and dissecting it and giving their opinions of what they thought that meant and blah, blah, blah. Well, let me tell you what the story is, and you tell me if it sounds straight up bullshit right on its face. Now, this story that supposedly broke was in regards to a PSG match where supposedly Lamine Yamal, who had just returned from injury, arrived late at the tactical meeting prior to the match. Hansi Flick holds a tactical meeting before a match. Players show up, they sit down. All right, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to stop them. This is how we're going to overcome them. This is how we're going to defend. This is how we're going to attack. You get it. And usually when players have showed up late to these tactical meetings, well, they've been benched, right? Koundé's done it a bunch of times. Iñaki Peña. I think Rashford. Yeah, Rashford at the beginning of the season. So there's been a lot of players. Eric Garcia, I think, one time. But there've been, Rafinha, right? Whenever players show up late, Hansi Flick says, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're an academy player or the freaking star of the team. If you are late, you are benched. Because we have rules, and if you can't follow the rules, well, there are consequences to those rules. So this report that supposedly came out yesterday was that Lamine Yamal showed up late. But because, he's Lamine Yamal and he's a big star of the team, he still played despite him being late. Now, why did he play supposedly despite being late? Is because Laporta told Deco, go tell Hansi that Lamine needs to play. Even though he was late and even though he's being punished, he needs to play. We're playing against PSG. UFA's president Seferin is going to be sitting with me in the presidential box. We have Al Khalifi, PSG's president. He's going to be with me in the box, and Lamine needs to play. And supposedly, Deco went into the locker room and told Hansi Flick, I know Lamine was late. I know you need to punish him, but he needs to play. This is an order directly from the president. And supposedly, Flick said, okay, fine, but if you guys intervene in my planning again, I'm going to quit at the end of the season. And he ended up playing Lamine Yamal despite Lamine being late. This was the story that broke yesterday. Again, I didn't report about it because when I read it, I'm like, this sounds like bullshit, wrapped in bullshit, wrapped in more bullshit, topped with bullshit, with a side of bullshit, and a drink of bullshit. So, Hansi Flick was, of course, asked about this, and this is what the German coach had to say. I'd like to know where they got that from. It's nonsense. He actually said it's bullshit. This is the PG-13 translation. It's nonsense. Neither Deco nor anyone else at the club has ever said anything to me. They have a lot of confidence in my work and would never ask me for anything. It's nonsense. I have nothing to hide. If anyone has said this, they are lying. So Hansi Flick got really mad. And again, call it bullshit. This is a PG-13 translation. He straight up said, it's bullshit. And then he said, I'm sorry for using that word, but it's absolute nonsense. That did not happen. And I think he was rightfully so angry because in sports, for some reason, the standard for reporting has much lower than any other area where if a reporter comes across a story in a sporting world, or at least in the footballing world, they just run with it. They don't try to verify it. They don't try to double check it and triple check it. I mean, for God's sake, me, who I'm not a reporter. I'm not a professional at this. I'm just a random guy with a fucking mic and a camera. I make sure to double, triple, and quadruple check when I'm gonna talk about something. And yet these professionals who are getting paid for this, who are in their big multi-million dollar studios, they can't even like verify something as simple as this. Like, so of course Hansi Flick got mad, rightfully so. And honestly, I'm glad we have a coach that can set the reporter straight and straight up call them out on their bullshit because, you know, you had one job. You couldn't do that job right. Do better. Do better because you have a responsibility. Millions of people watch you, and you have a responsibility to share verifiable facts and not just some bullshit story, half-baked story that you came across and you thought, ooh, this is going to get me views, this is going to get me clicks, so let me just run with it, right? Ooh, Barcelona's going to sign Julian Alvarez. You know, how many times I've seen so many headlines like that? And it's like, enough is enough. Do better. Anyways, let's get back to the chat section. And then we are going to talk about the great news because the Camp Nou, ladies and gentlemen, green light for the Camp Nou. Let's see. McBarca says, hi, Mo, questions. As much as we hated Bartomeu, would you rather let Barca win the Champions League in 2018-19 and save his job as president to see him abuse the club's money? Oh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. It was actually 2016 or 2015. 2015. That's a tough one because that's the year we won the treble with the MSN. If I have to go back in time and sacrifice the Champions League, I think I would. Because I'll tell you why. Not having won that Champions League that year would have meant it would have sucked for that 1 year. But what Bartomeu did has been sucking for the last 10 years. And we're still going through it, and God knows how much longer it's going to take to rebuild from it. So the effects of what Bartomeu did is just expands way longer than what the effects would have been of not losing that one season, right? Plus, now you might say, well, we would have one Champions League less. I don't know if we would, because let's not forget, the reason why we went on to not win the Champions League all those years since the last time we won it is because of Bartomeu. Because Bartomeu made horrible signings that not only did not make the team better, it actually made it worse. And he continued to renew the players that we had despite them aging. So as a result, the team kept getting older and kept getting reinforced with shitty players like Firpo and Semedo and Braithwaite and, all these clowns that Bartomeu signed. And at the end, it all came down crashing. Because at the end, we had all these players like Busquets and Messi and Alba and blah, 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 who are all in their 30s, washed out. And maybe not Messi because he's Messi, but the rest were Suarez, who couldn't even jog because he was so old and fat. And they were all just done. And there were no reinforcements. All the academy players left. And that's why we went on trophyless in the Champions League for so long. And then eventually it all came down crashing, right? So I would definitely sacrifice the Champions League of that year with the MSN and see Bartomeu not win re-election, because then it would have meant Barcelona would have not went to the verge of bankruptcy. Barcelona would not be in the financial shithole that it is right now. And a better president would have done a better job of keeping the squad young and make the right signings to reinforce the team, right? And not give these insane contracts to players like Piqué and Alba and Busquets, who were old and they were still renewing them and giving them higher and higher salaries. And it's like, what are you guys doing? But anyways. So yeah, I would have totally sacrificed the Champions League if it meant not having Bartomeu as a president. Raul says, Mo, the hate Yamal is getting is sickening and heartbreaking. And believe me, it's some delusional, retarded Messi fans who somehow feel threatened. No, I don't think it's Messi fans who are hating on Lamine. I mean, I think Messi fans are happy to see that now that Messi's gone, we have someone else to look forward to watching. I think it comes with the territory. The more success you accumulate, the more hate you're going to get. It's just the nature of life. And when we talk about Lamine Yamal, he's right now the best player in the world. So that's like the top amount of success that you could get as a football player. So of course, he's as the most successful, he's gonna get the most hate, right? Because the more successful you are, the more hate you. Because unfortunately, there are a lot of miserable people out there who don't have much going on in their lives, and instead of channeling that energy into improving their lives, they just rather channel their energy to hating on others. It's natural. That's always been the case, and it's not limited to football. It's in all areas of life, right? Singers get hate, actors get hate. Everybody does. Everybody, the more successful you are, even like random people who are not famous, right? Successful people who know them will hate on them. It's just, unfortunately, it's human nature, right? I mean, I get haters all the time on my comment section, and I'm nobody, right? My channel is a speck of dust in the world of YouTube. And despite that, there's still people who come here talking shit, which is hilarious, by the way, because I like to troll them. I'll talk shit back to them. And that's when they hit me with the, homo, you need to be more humble. I'm like, wait, what? You come talking shit, and when I talk shit back to you, all of a sudden you're the victim? Get the fuck out of here. I'm not buying your crocodile tears. You need to be more humble. Yeah, okay. Well, you need to stop being a dumbass. How about that? Brian says, bro, your audio has been really bad lately. I hope you can get it fixed soon. So yeah, I addressed that at the beginning. I'm working really hard on fixing it. I hope to fix it pretty soon. I bought new cables. They're going to get here on the weekend. So hopefully it gets fixed. I don't know what it is. I'm trying to figure it out. Hopefully I can. We'll see. Hopefully it is the cables. Because then that means it will be fixed as soon as the cables that I ordered get here. But yeah. Let's see. Cal Hell says, also my prediction for the number 10 tomorrow, I think the Flick might go with Fermin for maybe 60 minutes and play Dro later. Yeah, that's a possibility too. Edward says, I don't think Dro can get another start till he can press the ball into the attack faster. Well, the only way he could do that is by getting experience, and the only way to get experience is to get minutes, right? Because you can practice all you want, but experience comes mostly from playing. From practice too, obviously, but from playing too. And if he doesn't play, he's not going to get experience. If he doesn't get experience, he's never going to learn how to pass the ball into the attack faster. So, let's see. Kiss My Ex says Marc Bernal could play, technically, but, given the gravity of his injury, he's not someone that Flick is looking to rush. He's going to be managing his minutes. So yeah, he technically could play. Maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes at the end in the place of Pedri or in the place of Frankie. But that's not the position that we're really lacking, right? The positions that we're lacking are up front. La Mumsaj says, I would love to see Xavi Expart debut against Girona today. He's a good technical right back. So Xavi Expart has been training right now before, like he trained today with the first team. So he technically could play. Let's see. Magic says, best Barca 11 in my casual opinion, Valdez. Talk about the goalkeeper? And Kevin says, was it a mistake not signing Jonathan Tah on a free given his organizational skills a la Martinez? I think with Tah, Flick wanted him, but at the time we had too many defenders, right? And then Inigo leaves, Christensen's not renewing. All of a sudden we do need a center back, but then Tah's gone, right? So that's what happened. That's what happened. Let's see. What else? What else? Oh, my man Ross. It's been a minute, man. It's so good to see you. Ross says, hey, Mo, hope you're good. Been a minute. Do you think Barca should have signed Ta? The defense looks a bit scary. Thanks, Mo. Hit the like. Again, when Barcelona were ready to sign Ta, we didn't have enough. Too many. We had too many defenders, and finally, when we didn't have too many defenders, he was already gone. So, it works like that sometimes, right? It's like Murphy's Law. Well, not Murphy's Law. What's the other law? Where when you want something, it's not there, but when it's there, it's because you don't need it. That's kind of how it was. Anyways, let's move on to the next bit of news. And then we'll do more comments. But let's talk about the great news of today because, ladies and gentlemen, the Camp Nou has received the green light and the city have issued or have approved the occupancy permit. They're saying they're going to issue it tomorrow. Now, how do we know this? Because, of course, Barcelona are in constant contact with the city council. But the license is approved. The Camp Nou has received the green light, and Barcelona could technically return to the Camp Nou with a capacity of 27,000 people. Now, will Barcelona go back? The answer is no, but they could. So you're like, wait, so how is this a green light? Well, let's break it down for people who are new to the channel or for people who are not aware of what's going on. But this is the Camp Nou. Sky shot from the Camp Nou. And as you know, Barcelona were set to return to the Camp Nou in 3 phases. The first phase being the 1A phase, which would be the southern stand right here in the second ring, and the lateral stands. I guess this would be, I don't know, would this be the west lateral stands. This is phase 1A, which could seat 27,000 people. Now, Barcelona, once they finished these sections, they applied for the permit. The city sent its inspectors, and they came back with a long list of things that Barcelona needed to fix, and they rejected the permit. So Barcelona went back, fixed all those things, applied for the permit again. Again, the city sent its inspectors, and again, they found more things that needed to be fixed. This time, it was the police and fire who found that, some safety codes were not followed, like the evacuation routes, etc., etc. So for the second time, the city once again rejected the permit and gave Barcelona a list of things they needed to improve. So then Barcelona went back to work. They improved all those things. They applied for the permit a third time. And this time, the city has communicated to Barcelona that everything has been fixed. And therefore, they will issue the license tomorrow. So Barcelona will be able to return to the Camp Nou to host people in the Camp Nou. And again, these 2 sections, which comprise the 1A phase, return phase, which can seat 27,000 people. Now, despite Barcelona receiving the green light, they're not going to go back to the Camp Nou. Why? Because Barcelona have decided that it makes more sense to play at Montjuic, because Montjuic seats 50,000 people, as opposed to the Camp Nou that can only seat right now 27,000 people. So double the capacity at the Olympic Stadium. And yes, you do have to pay rent for the Olympic Stadium, not at the Camp Nou, but even with paying rent at the Olympic Stadium, you can still make more money because, again, it seats double the amount of people. So when will Barcelona return to the Camp Nou? They're going to return during phase 1B, which would now include the bottom south section, south goal, and the eastern sections, and all that together could seat 45,000 people. So now Barcelona 1A is done, right? 1A is done. South and western sections, that's done. Permit is done. So now Barcelona are finalizing the east section. Once that east section is finalized, Barcelona will apply for the second permit, the 1B permit. And once they are granted that permit, then the stadium will be able to seat 45,000 people. And that's when Barcelona would want to return to the Camp Nou with a capacity of 45,000, which is close to the capacity of the Olympic Stadium. It's still less by 5,000. But again, given that you don't have to pay rent, you probably end up making the same or maybe a little bit less. But nonetheless, not like now if they return tomorrow. they would lose a lot of money because it has half the capacity. Now, when is our Barcelona expecting to receive the license for the 1B phase, or the permit, I should say? They're estimating November 22nd. So hopefully by November 22nd, we'll have the occupancy permit for the 1B phase, and then Barcelona will return with 45,000 people capacity. But again, now that the phase 1A is done, they could technically go back tomorrow, right? But they don't want to. They want to wait until the 45,000 people, which begs the question, why the hell did we ever leave Montjuic? Right? At the end of the season, there were all those pictures of Barcelona trucks that pulled up to the stadium, and they boxed everything up. They loaded up to the trucks, and they were like, all right, bye. And then we played the Johan Cruyff match. The John Gamper match at the Johan Cruyff. We lost a shitload of money. We played 2 La Liga matches at the Johan Cruyff. Lost more money. All that because, we want to get back to the 1A. We want to get back to the finally we get the license, the permit to get to the 1A. And they're like, yeah, never mind. We don't want to go back to the 1A. We want to wait till 1B. So it's like, what was all this for to begin with? But anyways, good news. Barcelona have the permit. They have the green light. They could return to the stadium. They won't until November. But that's good news because at least 1 phase down, 2 to go. Because, of course, the final phase will be the phase 1C, which will be the full first 2 rings, which will house 60,000 people. And then finally, once the 3rd ring is fully built, the stadium will have a capacity of 105,000 people. So huge step forward. Camp Nou receives the green light. Barcelona can house people in the Camp Nou, can return to the Camp Nou. They won't, but they can. And that's, of course, big news. Which, of course, to all those conspiracy people saying, the city were rejecting the permits because they didn't want Barcelona to return to the Camp Nou because they want to keep making money off the rent of the Olympic Stadium. Someone else said, no, it's because Victor Font, he has a relative that works at the city, so they're denying the license on purpose so Laporta can lose the election. And I told you, be careful. There's a lot of idiots out there who will say anything. People who never learn that sometimes things don't go your way, and just because they're not going your way, it's not a conspiracy. But unfortunately, those people also have a camera and a mic like me. And unfortunately, they have a platform. And a lot of people listen to them. So, to those people, I would say, what happened to the conspiracy? I mean, now it's Barcelona that don't want to go back. The city that said you can. Barcelona said no. Also, by the way, the city came out and said they're losing money by renting the Olympic Stadium to Barcelona. Because because they make a lot more money by renting the stadium for concerts than they do by renting it to Barcelona for matches. And since Barcelona are playing there, there's a lot of concerts they have to say no to. So they're actually losing money by renting the Olympic Stadium to Barcelona. So I guess there goes the theory or the hypothesis, because it's not a theory, it's an insult to theories to call that bullshit a theory. But so there goes the hypothesis that the city were purposely denying the license because they were making money off Barcelona. They are actually losing money. But again, unfortunately, lots of idiots out there. So you have to be careful who you listen to. Question everything, including everything I tell you. Always question it. Always double check it. Always triple check it. Because unfortunately, a lot of idiots out there. But anyways, let's get back to the comment section. And then we are going to talk about the protests that La Liga players are planning for this weekend. Edward says, as far as reporters go, if it bleeds, it leads. Eyeballs on the page. Mexican sports reporter will have El Tri coaches punching them out. Yeah. Maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need Flick to get up and just start, swinging at this report. I'm kidding. All right, let's see. MNF says, Suarez wasn't done. He went to Atletico, scored against us, and won La Liga. He was done. He was done. Yeah, he won La Liga, but it's not like he was a starter. He was playing like a few minutes here and there. It's not like he started 90 minutes and put up 40 goals, and it was thanks to him that they won La Liga. I mean, he was part of the winning team. If Suarez hadn't went to Atletico would have won La Liga that season too. Like, it wouldn't have made much difference. Desmond says, tuned in for the first time in South Africa. I really appreciate your work more. It keeps me updated. Well, thank you, my friend. Thank you for tuning in. Let's see. Lucci Gambino says, I just had surgery yesterday. Pray for me, Mo, in chat. Well, my friend, I hope that your surgery was successful, and whatever you got operated on, I hope that's completely solved. I wish you a speedy recovery. And may you never, ever, ever have to undergo surgery again. So I wish the best. Let's all wish Luchi Gambino a speedy recovery. And may he fully recover and come back healthier and stronger than ever. And Valeriano says, Mo, have you seen reports saying Lamine not going to sign autographs for monetizing purposes? I saw it. I didn't really look much into it because I was like, I don't care. But I'll look into it and figure out if it's true or not. Big Barca says, would you put current version of Messi in this Barca squad knowing he can be a defensive burden because he can press like a madman for a full 60? Playmaking won't count because our forwards miss. Anyways, no, this version of Messi I would not put in Barca. I mean, he is what, 37, 36, 37. He's been playing MLS for what, 2-3 seasons. You naturally decline regardless of age. Like even if, let's say we send Lamine to the MLS for 3 seasons. He's not going to come back the same Lamine. He's going to come back at a much lower level, lower intensity. And it's going to take him some time to get back into the rhythm of Spanish league because it's natural, right? It's kind of like when you go to the gym, the more weight you lift, the bigger your muscles grow. But then if tomorrow you decide, I don't want to lift heavy, I'm going to lift super light, still the same amount of sets, and your muscle volume will decline because you're not pushing your body to its limit. So your body's not, there's no need for your body to keep growing. So you're going to stop growing, and then eventually you will trim some muscle too. You're going to lose some muscle mass. Same thing with football, right? Even if we send Lamine Yamal to the MLS for 2-3 seasons, he's going to come back at a much lower competitive level because the MLS is much lower, and that's what, you're not pushing yourself to the limit because you don't have to. You don't need to. Now, of course, Lamine is young, so if he does come back to the Liga, he will struggle, but eventually he'll be able to get back into first gear and, well, not first gear, sixth gear, I guess. I don't fucking know. I don't know what I'm saying. But eventually he'll get back into competitive rhythm and be able to keep up. Messi, on the other hand, he's 37. You bring him to the Liga, he's going to really struggle at first, and it's going to take him much longer to get back, to be able to keep up because he's older, assuming that he can even keep up to begin with, right? So no, I wouldn't bring Messi. And don't get me wrong, I think Messi is the greatest ever. Not in history of Barca, but in history of football. I love Messi. I think nobody compares to him. The people who think Ronaldo can compare to Messi are idiots with non-due respect. But, I mean, age is age. I know people who like to say age is just a number. It's not. At least not in sports. Age is not just a number in sports. Your body ages, you slow down, you get injured much easier. It takes much longer to recover from the injuries. There's no way that you could keep up because, again, it takes your body so much longer to recover. When you were young, you could play a full 90-minute game. You go to sleep, the next day you're good. Now, when you're in your late 30s, you go play a game. The next day you wake up, you feel like a bus hit you. And the following day, you still feel like a bus hit you. Maybe by the third day, you start feeling normal. So, unfortunately, age is not just a number, especially not in sports. Anyways, let's do the last bit of news. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the players, La Liga players, are planning protests for this weekend. And you're like, Mo, what are they protesting? Well, the Villarreal versus Barcelona match in Miami. Now, as you know by now, the Royal Spanish Football Federation and UEFA have approved the 17th La Liga fixture between Barcelona and Villarreal to be played in Miami, Florida. This will be the first time ever that La Liga holds an official La Liga match outside of Spain. And there's been a lot of pushback, especially from the Players Association, the AFE, as it's known by its Spanish initials. In fact, when this was first approved by the Royal Spanish Football Federation, they issued a statement that was signed by all 20 captains, including Mark ter Stegen, announced that they were against this move. Then UEFA approved it, and the AFE once again came out with a statement opposing this. They scheduled a meeting with La Liga and all 20 captains from La Liga to discuss, like, hey, what does this trip entail? What are the conditions? When are they going to travel? How long are they going to be there? When are they going to come back? Et cetera, to see whether the conditions of this trip will violate the collective bargaining agreement between the players and La Liga. La Liga canceled that meeting, so the AFE released a statement, which I reported about in yesterday's video. And now the players are planning a protest this weekend where in every game, the players are planning to sit for the first 20 to 30 seconds of the kickoff on the grass in protest of La Liga having matches played outside of the US. And of course, I agree with this. Because like I said, this is too much. The calendar is already jam-packed. Players are already playing every 3-4 days. They're playing La Liga. They're playing Copa del Rey. They're playing Champions League. They're playing Spanish Super Cup. They're constantly traveling all around Spain for La Liga matches, and all around Europe for Champions League matches, and all around Spain for the Copa del Rey matches. And then they have to play the Spanish Super Cup in freaking Saudi. That's very exhausting. Traveling is exhausting. Being in an airplane actually impacts your body negatively because of the high pressure, because of the pressurized atmosphere of an airplane. And now you want them to fly halfway around the world to play one match and then have them fly back halfway around the world. And it's like, why? Okay, you want to make more money? Cool. But at the expense of whom? Of your players, right? And someone was like, Mo, it's the last game of... So what if it's the last game of the season? Well, I think because it's the last game of this year, there's like some magical spell on the players that it's impossible for them to get injured. No, there isn't. You can still get injured, even if it's the last game of the year. More so if you just played a match, then had to hop on a plane, fly halfway across the world, get adjusted to that time zone, play another game, fly back halfway around the world, get readjusted to your time zone. That increases your chances of getting injured, regardless whether it's the last or the first game of the year. And again, in a few days later, they're going to have to hop on a plane again to go to Saudi Arabia to play the Super Cup. So players are not having it, and I 100% agree with them. And they're planning protests for this weekend. All right, that's all the news. Let's do more comments, and then we will end this. I promise I'll keep working on my sound. I don't know what it is. I've been trying everything. Again, I ordered cables. They should get here hopefully this weekend. Hopefully improve the sound. But if not, I'm just going to grab this audio box, this interface, and just throw it out the window because it's pissing me off. Anyways, it could be the computer. Again, it could be the computer because I didn't used to have that problem with my laptop. Which begs the question. Maybe I should just use my laptop. Anyways. All right, let's see. Actually, I am going to test that. I'm going to test that with my laptop. And if not, I'm just going to sell this computer or throw it in the trash where all Apple products belong. Let's see. Ross says, had a spinal fusion surgery and my arms were numb for a month. Firefighting is dangerous sometimes. All good and in PT now. Are there going to be price hike tickets-wise comparatively? Thanks, Mo. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, my friend. In my field, I work with a lot of people who've had fusions. And I know it's not a simple procedure, very painful. The recovery is painful, and of course, it's something you carry with you for the rest of your life because you're fusing two vertebrates. It limits the mobility of your spine. But I'm glad you're doing better. I'm glad that the surgery went well. I'm sorry you had to go through that. Hopefully, you won't have to go through that ever again. Stick to your PT, follow your doctor's recommendations because, you know, our back is a very sensitive area. Very, very sensitive. Are the tickets going to go up? You bet your ass. I mean, they already have. I was talking about it earlier. I think the cheapest ticket I saw was $500 to watch the Villarreal Barca match. And they were charging like $2,000 plus for the good seats. And to think at Camp Nou for $200, you can get good seats. But welcome to the USA. El Pollito says, since the World Cup is in the US, do you think UEFA will bring Champions League to the US? No, I don't think so because, you know, Champions League is European competition. UEFA was very reluctant to approve just one match, the Barcelona-Villarreal match. They said, we don't want to, but there's no rules that prevent us from doing it. So they're like, all right, I guess we will, but we don't want to. So I don't see them moving an entire tournament. If they were reluctant to approve one match, I definitely can't see them moving the entire tournament. And if the players are upset about this Villarreal Barcelona match, players from the other 18 clubs that will not even have to travel to Miami, can you imagine what would it be like when all 36 the players from all 36 clubs that participate in the Champions League are told you're gonna have to play in another continent? They would lose their shit. They will lose their shit. Cal says, I hope that Ibrahim Diarra and Daniel Rodriguez get another chance with the first team, even cameos during the second part of the season, especially with Copa del Rey matches. Hopefully. Zemo says, a report just came out the Yamal autograph thing was false. I'm not surprised. That's why I didn't even look into it. I saw the headline. I didn't even click on the article. I'm like, sounds bullshit to me. Plus, I don't really care. Plus, how would you enforce that? No free autographs. I mean, what? You're going to be walking, Lamine, autograph. But yep. Well, you're going to take out your cell phone, be like, tap it. Bling. Okay. You just sounded pure bullshit to me. Valeriano says, Mo, good evening. How about Barca News meet up at Camp Nou? Man, I would love that. I would freaking love that. I am going to I am going to Barcelona in March again with the Peñas. So if all goes well, I'm gonna take my camera with me and film a special video. So yeah. Let's see. Valeriano says, I think the players protested today for first 30 seconds of the match during Real Oviedo match. La Liga didn't show it or censor. Oh, well, there you go. It started. And Street Fighter says, mi problema es que el primer día libre los jugadores viajan de todas formas. Yes, that's true. The first day off, players do travel. But they're not traveling halfway around the world to go train, and then play a match and then fly back. They're going to beaches and relaxing, sleeping in, eating. So, yes, they travel, but it's not followed by heavy physical activity, right? They're going to relax somewhere. And Ross says, I'm in at new Camp Nou. If the tickets will go up, thanks. At the Camp Nou? I'm sure they will. Not like the crazy prices here in the U.S., but I'm sure they will. Street Fighter says, hey, Mo, what your best Barca 11 in terms of talent? Ooh, that's tough, man. That's tough. I would have to make a separate video on that. I don't know if I can do that here. My best 11, I mean, if all time, that's tough. El Pollito says, Mo, are you Latino? You look like Puerto Rican. I'm half. And no, I'm not Puerto Rican. My mom is Peruvian. So I am half Latino. This is why I speak Spanish. But no, I'm not Puerto Rican. All right. That is all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your likes, your comments, subscriptions, your donations. If you haven't hit the like button yet, make sure you do. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. And if you haven't dropped a comment yet, well, you can't yet because this hasn't ended. But once it ends, drop a comment and let me know what your thoughts and opinions. I promise I'll continue to work on my sound until it's improved because, trust me, it annoys the crap out of me too. And I'm sure it's annoying for you too to hear that in the background. It's like a choppers in my room. I hate it, but I'll keep working on it. Anyways, thank you guys. I will be posting another video later tonight. I will see you guys in that video. And as always, be scarsa.